Ahoj úžasňáci, já vás srdečně vítám u dalšího podcastu. Zase po dlouhé době to bude podcast ze soudku Practice your listening skills, protože budu mluvit jenom v angličtině a tím pádem budete moci potrénovat porozumění mluvené angličtině. Moc se omlouvám za svůj hlas, ale už je to víc než měsíc po nemoci a stále není 100% zpátky. Mimochodem o té nemoci, kterou jsem právě chytla na Maledivách, budu taky mluvit v tomto podcastu, protože se mě svým způsobem stále drží. Nicméně tímto bych totálně odbočila, takže vás k poslechu tohoto podcastu chci pozvat, pokud za A právě si chcete potrénovat porozumění poslechu a nebo obojí vás taky zajímá, jak jsem se měla na Maledivách. Já jsem z Malediv natáčela několik vlogů, které vychází na mém YouTube kanálu. První z nich vyjde 11. března a budou potom vycházet hned za sebou, takže určitě se můžete mrknout na ně, ale právě v tomto podcastu bych to chtěla udělat trošku jinak. V těch vlozích jsem říkala takový svoje jako aktuální pocity, všechno jsem vám hodně ukazovala, hodně klipů a tak dále. Zatímco v tomto vlogu bych to ráda pojela jako takový shrnutí tý dovolený, chci vám říct, jak mě to vůbec napadlo, kolik to všechno stálo, jestli to stálo za to, co bylo super, co nebylo super, jestli bych si to zopakovala a tak dále. Takže i pokud se chystáte na vlogy, tak věřím tomu, že v tomto podcastu najdete jiný informace a nebo minimálně z jiného úhlu pohledu. Pokud ještě úplně nerozumíte, nejste na té úrovni, tak můžete využít buď titulky na YouTube, anebo dokonce dvojazyční titulky. To, jak si je zapnout, najdete v popisku YouTube videa, takže pokud posloucháte jenom na podcastu, tak vám doporučuji přejít na YouTube, pokud teda potřebujete ty titulky, případně dvojazyční titulky, protože tam najdete návod a jenom tam je to možný. But that would be it for the long intro and now let's get right into it. I would say I should start with the question, why did I choose the Maldives in the first place? So I would never say that I would be the type of person that would be interested in going to the Maldives, because in the past I only perceived it as a destination only like extremely rich people go to, and that it's like super lazy, you just hang out at the beach or at the pool and, I don't know, chill and enjoy extremely expensive food and drinks. But, it can be the type of holiday some people experience in the Maldives, but it's not definitely the only type of holiday you could be experiencing there. Actually, your holiday in the Maldives could be super adventurous, which was exactly my case. When I discovered an Instagram profile na Maledivy, these days it's called Namale, I became more interested in this type of holiday, but it was when I fell in love with diving and snorkeling and free diving during my first holiday in Egypt that I became actually interested in going to Maldives. And I would say the breaking point for me was when I was extremely sick. It was in summer. I remember it really well. I was extremely sick. And one of my most favorite YouTubers, Nikki, she posted a vlog from the Maldives where she was invited in exchange for barter to go with like Nati and Adele with the profile na Maledivy. And when I saw her vlog, I knew that's the sort of holiday I want to experience. So a few days or weeks after that, I reached out to those girls and we set everything up. So that's why Maldives. Now, how much did it all cost? So I will be, of course, telling you openly the prices of everything, and I will be giving you like more further information about whether it was worth it and so on. You will see, like I've tried to make a few notes and I will be talking first of all how much did it cost, whether it was worth it, what would I change. Then I want to give you more like information about the flight, how what it's like to be staying on a local island. I want to give you my review of the trips and some interesting like both positive and negative moments. So Oh my god, now that I'm reading the notes, it feels like the podcast is gonna take forever. I was hoping it would only take 30 minutes maximum, but well, I will try and speak faster so you can slow me down in your podcast apps and even on YouTube, by the way. So how much did it all cost? I'm gonna be telling you prices for 2 people. It was a gift for my husband, so I have like the prices for the 2 of us. And by the way, if you wanted, if you're single or like you can be taken, but you can be in a romantic relationship, but possibly not want to or not being able to go with your partner, they also have like single turnuses, so you don't have to have a partner, because normally like you would have to pay twice the price. It is really hard to say, yeah, it only cost this, because it is a cost per person, but there has to be 2 people, you know, especially in a hotel room, for example, or maybe I'm saying especially, but I think I meant only, because when I look at the prices, yeah, so sorry for mumbling, okay? Now, it's gonna be prices for 2 people for 12 days, but 10 days of actual holiday, because 2 days were consumed by the journey. So let's start with the flight tickets. They were the most expensive flight tickets I think I will ever get. It's really hard to go beyond that with a like economy class and a low-cost airline. Like, well, so the flight tickets cost 78,000 from Prague to Male. It was because we went there during Christmas, specifically from the 23rd to the 2nd of January. It is not normally that expensive, but to be honest, I very often see it marketed as you can get the flight ticket for 18,000 and so on. And I do believe that you can, but I don't think it's the standard, you know? And if you want to fly normally, that being that you don't have a stopover for 28 hours and that you have to transfer to a different airport and so on, then I don't think you can get it for 25,000 or like lower. Like, nope, you can't per person, of course I meant. So that was expensive. If I could change that, I would, but yeah, the only possible time when we could go there because of my husband's work was during Christmas. So, well, I had to suck it up. Then there is 13,300 for a mediation fee, which I would say was worth it because there was a nice organization. I really loved our tour guide, Terka. I would say I can call her a tour guide, but she felt like a friend more than a tour guide. I loved the ideas and the dinners together and generally an amazing group of people they put together. So I would say that that was all right, definitely worth it for me. What was not worth it was the 25,000 for a hostel room for 10 days. I'm saying a hostel room, it was like a guest house. It was the cheapest accommodation you can get, but still, I would say that 25,000 for 10 days, that makes it 2,500 per night. It was too much in these conditions. Like, I understand Maldives are expensive. I thought that local islands are not so expensive, but local islands are almost as expensive as like any other, I don't know, destination in the Maldives. Like, of course, well, we cannot compare it to the resorts, but to be honest, I expected some sort of like Asian level prices, you know, Asian price levels, where it should be quite cheap to eat and to sleep, but it's not. So get ready for that. So it definitely felt like too much. I have to say that the staff and the owner were amazing. They were super helpful. If we had a problem, they talked to us. They helped us solve it. Like, I really, really loved them. So that was a huge pro. what were some cons was that the room was extremely small. There were really no wardrobes to put your stuff in, so we had to basically stay living in a suitcase, which I really hate because there was mess all around, and I was so disorganized because I didn't know where my things were, and I always had to like go to my suitcase and like disorganize everything. I've just folded again and tried and organize a little bit. You know, that was super inconvenient. Then there was like an extremely small bathroom with ants. And you know, those were some tropical ants because they were huge. Well, I have to say that the first 2 days I was so afraid of them. It was so uncomfortable, and when I had to use the bathroom at night and I didn't turn on the light, and I was I had bare feet because we couldn't wear shoes inside. I was so worried that they would just somehow like climb onto me and bite me and so on, and they were all over my stuff. So I, of course, packed a lot of cosmetics and so now, you know, I'm just a girl, and they were all over my cosmetics. Not good. Then there were like extremely thin walls and a gap between the door and the ground, so there was a lot of light. Of course, when I wanted to sleep, there was still light coming to our room from the hallway. And since it was like a guest house, very, very small, and we had rooms like literally like glued together, everybody, there was also a lot of noise, you know, and like even like people calling at 2 a.m. screaming as hell. And when finally all the ruckus from the hallway went down, because it was, let's say, 3 a.m. and everybody finally went to sleep, suddenly crows started like screaming outside. I don't know what's the word in either language, to be honest, like the sound that birds make, but it was terrible. So like, I don't think that I have ever been on a holiday where I slept so little. Then there was a weirdly functioning AC. Well, sometimes it was too cold and I would wake up in the middle of the night like frozen, afraid I would fall sick, which I eventually did, just as my husband did. And sometimes I woke up like sweaty because I was so hot and it was still on 16 degrees, you know? So, well, the remote control obviously didn't do much, so that was annoying again. And then the AC broke completely, so they had to take it away. Luckily, they brought it back in the evening because I would die without an AC there. But again, not nice. So that's how I would review the guest house. Like, eventually I was really happy that I was there because most of us stayed there, like most of us from our group. So I was happy that we could stay in touch and live in the same place. But yeah, it was in that case, well, it was terrible. Okay, then I spent 31,000 on all the trips and activities. They were 10 out of 10. I definitely recommend you to go on every of those trips because there was a perfect service. It was a perfect adventure. Like, from those trips, I will have memories that I will never ever forget. They had perfect food for us. The atmosphere was perfect. We were dancing, we were having fun, we were laughing, amazing. We got so many underwater photos and videos of us, really well done. And the people were amazing, like the Maldivians who were in charge of us on those trips. They were amazing as well, so the trips were perfect. When it comes to the food, we spent approximately 12,000 and the breakfast was already included in the price of the guest house. But when it comes to, which was, by the way, like extremely basic, I think we could only choose from like 5 things. You know, like we had eggs, we had a sausage, we had vegetable fruit, and something sweet, let's say pancakes, yeah, but that was it. And I might be spoiled, but when I'm on holiday, I'm used to different, like all you can eat buffets, all you can eat breakfast buffets to be specific. Yeah, so my husband was excited about it because the taste was amazing. Yeah, I have to give them that, but the options were really low. So yeah, those were breakfast, they were included, so it was 12,000 for basically only dinners. Because lunches we mostly had on the trips, and if we weren't on a trip we wouldn't eat lunch. Yeah, so we would either just like starve. No, I'm just kidding, we just had some snacks and we were all right, and then we went for dinner. But when it comes to like the dinners, I mentioned snacks, so there were like small shops, a few small shops on the island. The island was, by the way, called Mafushi, so we were staying on a Mafushi island. And there were some small shops, but there was actually no real food. Like there was some fruit, some veggies, but that was it. Like you couldn't just get a ham or a cheese or a bread, really. There was a lot of snacks like chocolate, cookies and so on, and a lot of drinks, but again, that's it. So it was impossible to like cook for yourself. Like I'm saying cook, but we didn't even have like a kitchenette. But even if we did have something, we wouldn't be able to, because there was no food, like real food in the shops. And when it comes to the restaurants, they were more expensive than I expected, again, because for a long time I thought that like a local island in the Maldives, it's gonna be similar to staying in Asia. So I expected something like huge portions, cheap and so on. It was the opposite. So the food was of the same price as in the Czech Republic, or most likely more expensive than that. Yeah, I would say so, more expensive even. And even for our first 3 nights, we went out to really expensive restaurants, which we did not really know, but it was those were the restaurants we agreed on as a group. So we wouldn't go to a cheaper one if the whole group went to this restaurant, you know, like we are not thrifty. We just wanted to enjoy our company as well. But later we found amazing restaurants and also cheap. So I would recommend those definitely, because we got a loads of seafood and etc. And it was so delicious and quite cheap. So that was it. And generally on the island there are so many restaurants that you can like never you can never try all of them. Yeah, so that's crazy because the island is really small. Like it always took us 10 minutes to get anywhere really, and if we really tried and went like along the shore of the island, I would say it would take like 30 to 40 minutes maximum. So it was quite a small island, and also it was like separated into 2 parts. One of them was really touristy and the other one was local, and we were mainly in the touristy part of the island. So that's why it was like even smaller for us, but there were so many restaurants. It was crazy. I wonder how it's possible there are so many. Like, how do they make even any money? How are there enough people to go to all of these restaurants? Crazy. Anyway, then when it comes to the other prices, we also spent around 2,500 for travel insurance, I don't remember, and 1,000 for parking and price. So that makes it a total of 1,060 to 1,810, which is extreme. It is too much. Like, I knew Maldives are expensive. I thought that the Maldives, sorry for forgetting the. So I knew the Maldives were expensive, and the Maldives is, oh my god, you can see well that even an English tutor makes a lot of mistakes. It's the Maldives is, yeah. So the Maldives is a really expensive destination, but I didn't think that even staying on a local island would end up being so expensive. So is there anything I would change? I would try to save on the plane tickets, but that's all I could save on, really. Like, I enjoyed it with like the Instagram profile Namale, or the company. I would say it was the best holiday of my life, but I would never do it again. not this way at least. I might come to the Maldives again, but not definitely. I wouldn't redo the experience because there were a few people who like went there for the third time for literally the same holiday, and I was like, I would never spend that much money again just to relive it, you know? So like I'm so grateful that I experienced it all, but it was so expensive, I would say inadequately expensive, that I wouldn't do it again. But I would recommend everybody who has the resources to go. Yeah, that's for sure. When it comes to my preparation for the journey, I can recommend you to watch my YouTube vlog part 17 and 18, because there I spoke a lot about what I'm specifically getting ready for and what I bought for the journey, what I had to do beforehand and so on. So I'm not gonna be repeating that. When it comes to the flight, as I already told you, we flew during Christmas, so we got on the plane in Prague on the 22nd of December at 10 p.m. and we arrived in in our hostel, like the guest house, as I said. We arrived at 7 p.m. local time, and in the Czech Republic it was 3 p.m. So the journey was long, but not that long, I would say. It was, oh my god, I'm not gonna do the mental calculation right now because I would just like I would just make myself an idiot right now. So you can do the math, I'm not gonna. And the journey was alright. Like, I didn't expect that we would go with a low-cost airplane, but because it was so expensive, so I expected that for this long flight it would be a bigger airplane than like, let's say a Ryanair airplane or a Smartwings, you know, those companies I was used to flying with, but this was the same, so it was a real suffering. Luckily, when we went to Male, the plane was basically half empty, so we only it was only me and my husband on the 3-row seat, so we had more space naturally. But for the way back, I decided to pay extra for extra leg room because I was worried I wouldn't make it back otherwise, and I'm so glad I did, because on our way back I was so extremely sick that was the only saving grace, that I had tiny little bit more space for my legs, but still it was a really difficult journey. But I do have to admit that I sort of expected it to be worse than it actually was. I have always been afraid of long journeys, but this one was really alright, even though I was so sick, as you will hear in the YouTube vlog if you watch it. But still, so it sort of made me more enthusiastic about traveling, because now I know that I can handle even really long journeys. So if you're also worried, you don't have to be. It's not that terrible. Alright, then next thing I wanna mention is, the local island Mafushi, where we were staying. Well, it's a local island, so you cannot expect the typical pristine nature that is typical from the Maldives and beautiful white sand beaches and so on. Well, this couldn't have been far from that. It's actually a pretty ugly island, but since we had a lot of trips to other local islands and even a resort island, which was probably the most beautiful, I didn't really mind. Yeah, you share the island with locals. There, I would say it's like 50-50. 50 locals, 50 tourists. There are a few hotels, but I would say the island is sort of like separated into two parts. One of them is really like local, so super ugly. There is a lot of building sites, a lot of mess, dirt and so on. And then there is the touristy side where you've got like all these restaurants, hotels, beautiful decorations and everything. But it's unfortunate to see how terrible and poor the conditions of living for the locals are. Yeah, it's really I've never experienced what it's like being on a tiny island and see the luxury on one side and also the poor conditions on the other side. Yeah, that was really weird. There is also a very strict police driving around all the time, making sure that everybody is obeying the rules. Since it's a 100% Muslim country, the Maldives, I mean, and that includes mafushi, of course, you cannot wear bikini, not anywhere, not even in the sea or on the beach. There was one specific beach, like a bikini beach, which belonged to one of the biggest hotels there, and we could go there, we could wear bikini, but that was the only place. Even when we went for when we went on the trips, we always had to put on our clothes before we like set foot on the grounds of the island. I was on the boat and I said that, yeah, I will of course cover myself up, but I will do it right away when I get off the boat, because on the boat there was very little space. And I thought that, well, it's basically the same if I put on my t-shirt on the boat or if I put it like immediately after I set foot on the ground of the local island right? But no, I couldn't. So I really had to get dressed on the boat and enter the local island dressed up. Otherwise, it would be a problem. Yeah, so there is also no alcohol, like not even tourists can buy alcohol, and that means that there are a lot of drinks on the menus, like from piña colada to, I don't know, even like special drinks, but they are all non-alcoholic, which makes it super weird. You cannot even get a beer or wine, nothing. So I didn't mind, but there were a few people who did mind, my husband included, and it felt weird. You can drink alcohol in resorts or on a party boat, which is floating a few meters from the shores of the local island, and you can get on like a small transfer boat, which is going back and forth like every 10 minutes, let's say, and you can drink there, which is interesting that when you're on the island, you can't, but once you get on the boat, you can. It's literally a few meters away. Interesting. There is also a strict policy about vaping. You cannot vape there, use IQOS, or, well, when it comes to smoking, you can. There is a very limited area where you can actually smoke. There are very strict rules about it, and it's extremely expensive. I would say that like one box of cigarettes costs, and I don't want to lie, I think it's approximately 500 crowns. Yeah, so, well, smoking can get really expensive on the island. And of course, no drugs. I spoke to one of the Maldivians and he told me that if they caught him with marijuana, for example, with weed, he could go to prison. Yeah. And by the way, Mafushi is a prison island, so I think there are like 200 inhabited islands in the Maldives, and Mafushi is the island where they take all the convicts from the other islands and they imprison them there. So that was interesting. We didn't have a prison tour or anything. Now, when it comes to the trips, like the girls offer a few trips. I'm making a note of one more that I forgot to make a note of. Okay, so I forgot a few, so I had to take a short break to complete the list. So I'm gonna be, okay, I wanted to say that I'm gonna be reading them in the order of happening, but that's not entirely true because I would say they can happen in a different order as well if you go there. So well, anyway, let's start. So the first trip that we took was called Half Day, and it's a trip that is shorter. Well, that's why it's called Half Day. And it includes let's say you get on the boat at like 8:30 or 9 a.m. You go on the boat for about, I don't know, 15 minutes. It was a really short trip, and we went there to watch sea turtles. So we spent, let's say, an hour in the water looking for sea turtles, making videos of them, making videos of us with the sea turtles and so on. Then we also like explored the coral reef there, which I, by the way, found really boring in the Maldives. If I compare it to like Egyptian coral reefs, well, it's incomparable. These were like super gray and I don't know, super boring. Yeah, so I don't recommend the corals. I recommend everything else. Yeah, so then we moved to another like snorkeling destination. This was specifically to a coral reef, which, as I said, I didn't quite enjoy. So yeah, that was boring for me. But I was happy to be in the Maldives. So retrospectively, I call it like a boring trip, which I didn't really enjoy. But at that moment, I was enjoying anything that was thrown my way, you know. So that was half day. I would say it's good for people who have never tried snorkeling or freediving before, because it's a nice trip for you to get used to all of these sensations and gain confidence and so on. But since I've already seen sea turtles multiple times in Egypt, and I've seen much more beautiful coral reef, it was not so good. But what I loved is that after even the second location, we transferred to a sandbank. Sandbanks are very popular in Maldives. It's basically a place in the middle of nowhere, where the water sort of like collects sand at one little location. So it's like a tiny little island where they always set like umbrellas for us, and where we would eat lunches. Yeah, so that was fun. I recommend you to watch the YouTube vlog so that you can imagine what I'm talking about, because that was one of my favorite activities, eating lunch on these beautiful sandbags. That was beautiful. Then we had a trip to dive with or swim with sharks, specifically nurse sharks, not like tiger sharks or white sharks, you know, the dangerous ones. These sharks don't eat people. Yeah, so I enjoyed that a lot. We then moved to a local island. Okay, I cannot remember the name. And there we also took pictures and videos with stingrays. And that was also super fun and sort of scary, because, you know, they are dangerous. They could easily kill you, and you're just there in the water with them. And you're making videos. Yeah, it's cool. I loved that because they are so cute, and they are also like sort of cuddly. I don't know if a fish can be cuddly, but they felt cuddly. I fell in love with stingrays. Those are my favorite sea creatures these days. Then another trip is a whale shark trip, which we skipped because when it comes to the whale shark, you're basically the whole time on the boat. It takes many hours. The trip usually starts at 8. They come back at, I don't know, 6 p.m. and they're on the boat and they're just trying to find a whale shark. And it's also quite far, so it takes like 2 hours to get to the location where there is a high chance of spotting a whale shark. But also in many occasions you don't even find the whale shark, so you're basically just sitting the whole day on the small boat and you don't end up seeing anything. But so we skipped that because I hate just sitting on a boat. I hate long transfers, and yeah, for me it was not worth it. But looking back, I would probably give it a try, because they did see a whale shark and they saw manta rays, which is something I've always wanted to see. I thought that I would see a manta because that was my like bucket list sea creature. So I was a bit disappointed by that, not by the whale shark, but by the manta. So that's it. Then they had a totally new trip, which was called night snorkeling. So we literally at night, in like a total darkness, we went to a coral reef destination again on a boat naturally, and we got flashlights and we were snorkeling in a complete darkness with flashlights, and it was a really unique experience. In a way scary because it's pitch black everywhere, but yeah, so unique, so special. I would definitely recommend everybody trying it. If you like snorkeling, definitely try night snorkeling. There was also a trip called island hopping, which is a trip where, well, first of all, we went to a location with a sunken boat. So we explored the boat, took videos, and yeah, the usual. And then we went to do the literal island hopping. So first we went to one island where we took drone photos and videos. Then we went to another local island, which was beautiful, and we had a lunch from a local family there. And then we went to the final island where we had a break. We could do whatever we wanted for like an hour and a half. So we got an ice cream, we took some photos, we went for a walk with my husband, and yeah, it was his favorite trip because he loves generally he loves beautiful nature, and it was so beautiful. Like, I would say this was the unique like Maldivian experience, and that's what I expected Maldives to be. So yeah, super enjoyable. I can recommend it. Then we went to a resort where we spent 1 day, or I should say half a day, because we got a pass from like 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and we only had lunch and drinks included, and we could just like be in the resort, but we couldn't do much. Yeah, we could just like swim in a pool, and that was it. And I don't like alcoholic drinks, so I tried to order 2, but they were really disgusting for me, and they were disgusting even for my husband. Yeah, so it wasn't that good, and I would say it was like so not worth it because it cost $240 per person. Yeah, not worth it. Then there was a fish tank, which was probably my favorite trip, because I told you I love stingrays, and on this trip you literally swim with them. They are everywhere. You're swimming with them, you're taking videos and pictures with them. They've touched me multiple times, and it was so beautiful. Then we also went to another location, and we swam with nurse sharks and some other types of sharks and stingrays still, and a lot of types of fish. And yeah, it was one of my favorite trips, because then we went to another local island, which was disgusting, but they had a nice beach, and we had a really delicious lunch there. And then we went and got an iced coffee in a really interesting coffee place, and I loved that. Then there were 3 trips that I didn't experience. It was coral planting that I really did want to experience, but unfortunately we didn't have time for that because we literally had a trip every day, so unfortunately that didn't happen. Then there was a campfire on a sandbank, and it was cancelled due to heavy rain. So another too bad, but I wouldn't have been able to gone anyway because I fell sick. So, and I was already I already had a fever at that moment, so I wouldn't be able to go. I wouldn't have been able to go, but still it was cancelled. And then there was diving, which I refused because I've already tried to dive, and the next time I'm gonna dive again, I'm gonna do a diving course. So those are the trips. As I said, I would recommend all of them, really, besides the resort. But still, the resort is something that I sort of regret, but I know that if I hadn't gone, I would regret not going because I wouldn't have the experience. So I cannot tell you not to go. I can just say, go, try it out for yourself. You might love it, you might not, but I would say it's probably an experience worth having. And then I have a last category, like interesting, both positive and negative moments. So, first situation is that unfortunately I got my period on the first day. Literally, when we arrived, it happened. And, well, you can imagine, if you're a girl, naturally, that is probably the last thing you want to happen if you're about to have your most expensive holiday in your life, and also a holiday that is entirely based on water and swimming and diving in the ocean on a small boat. And unfortunately, there was no toilet on the boat, or like there was a toilet, non-functioning toilet. And generally, it was so difficult in that matter. So that was terrible. I'm not gonna lie, but I managed somehow. Another interesting thing was generally like celebrating Christmas on an island, on a tropical island. So we had a nice like festive dinner and lights and a Christmas tree even, and it felt surreal, really. Another negative moment was that my husband fell sick on day 3 or something. He was terribly sick until like day 5 or 6, then he sort of managed, and then I fell sick, and I was again terribly sick for the last 2 days and the whole journey back home, which was really, really terrible. And because of that, I sort of, I totally missed out on the New Year's Eve celebrations that I was looking forward to, but still, I didn't have to be so sad because it was, there was a storm, it was raining as hell, and nobody was really enjoying any New Year's Eve's celebrations, to be honest. But it was really uncomfortable in the rain with the extreme waves to get back to Male, the main island where there is the airport. But well, I managed. And one interesting thing is that there is extremely strong sun, so I was really careful about putting on my sunscreen multiple times a day, and I was really worried because right in the beginning they told us that it often happens that the visitors get burned to the point of blisters, which can totally ruin your holiday, because once that happens to you, you cannot even go into water, you cannot go in the sun, and so on. So I was really careful, and luckily I didn't get burned at all, which is surprising since I'm really white and my husband is even whiter, and but we managed to stay safe. Okay, so luckily it wasn't that long. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Again, I'm sorry for my voice and for my mumbling from time to time. I don't know, like I feel so brain fogged that I'm unable to think clearly and form sentences in any language, including English and Czech, naturally. So I hope you didn't mind that much. And, well, I cannot wait to tell you about my next upcoming holiday, which is gonna be a holiday in Japan. So I think you have something to look forward to, most definitely. So, bye-bye.